coverage, event lighting and setup, studio production lighting, event studio photography, and lots more. In fact, the list is actually endless. Since 2005, he has had top clientele, including Novari Mall, Spedmas Films, Abuja Global Shapers, Lit Nation, Holborn Institute, Magnecraft Consulting, Yes You Can Education, The Transforming Church, Shepherd House Assembly, and a whole lot more. My goal is that if we start reading out all the client lists, we might not actually start this interview. He's married to the love of his life, Finney. Finney is also a very good friend, and I just want you all to sit back and really enjoy today's session. We'll be digging deep into all that's happening within the media space, and I can assure you that our guest has the experience. He has seen it. He's still in it, and he's still seeing it. So I know that at the end of this, you'd have no doubts in your minds that he was the right person for this particular interview. You're very welcome, Mr. David King.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate it.
Yeah, I can go on and on. Hold on, sir. Hold on, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
So we would like to meet you, sir. Would like to meet you professionally. I know I've read your profile, but is there anything about David King Media and Lighting Hub Limited that we don't know, that was not captured in the profile, that you would want to share with the audience?
Well, maybe I would just say how I got into media.
Okay, sir.
I studied communication arts in the University of Uyo, and that was my first exposure into the line of media, because it dealt with broadcasting, mass communication, and all of that. Then afterward, my pastor called me one day and requested that I do a promo for him. And the reason he invited me, he said that he needed me to do a voiceover for the promo. In fact, so let me just run the package. I didn't know how to edit. In fact, it was so amazing that the sister I worked with in the office taught me how to turn on the computer.
Was this after your degree?
Yes, sir, sadly. You see, because when I was in school, that was 1994, 1995, when we went into the labs, the computers were already on. So the way they took us through school, you don't even touch it. You just come, they show you one or two things. Maybe they were protecting the life out of the system, you know. So I didn't have the opportunity. And because then, I mean, personal computers were a luxury to have. Yeah. So I didn't get one, not even a laptop. In fact, laptops became available maybe towards 2003, 2004, 2005. That was when laptops began to come into the market. So you couldn't even just say, I have a computer back home. So it was a sister who taught me how to turn on the computer. It was that bad. So I knew this guy who was good in video editing and production. So I would go to him. I had the idea. I would tell him, I want you to do this for me, want you to do this for me, want you to do this for me. And then he went on to do it. And then I would do the voiceover and we would produce the promo. So, but each time I went there, I didn't just give him the assignment and relax. I was now watching him. I was watching what he was doing. At times I would ask questions. And then when I discovered the software he was using, which of course is the general software that everybody uses, Adobe Premiere, I went and I got that software when I had access to a computer, and I began to self-tutor myself. That was actually my entry into the media world, because if I hadn't received that invitation from my pastor to do that promo, I probably would not have, ventured into, in as much as I studied communication arts, I probably would not have seen myself in that line. But Something I started doing, I gained interest, I started loving it. And before you know it, that's where one of the things that I am really pursuing right now. And it's so exciting.
One of the amazing things, I had a friend who studied computer engineering in one of the state universities in this country. And yes, it will surprise you that throughout his 4-year course, he also never had the opportunity of turning on a computer. BSc Computer Engineering.
I'm telling you.
I think we really have a long way to go in terms of education, and yes, these things are they are no big deals, really. I think universities need to just get it right and invest heavily. People are paying their fees, their subventions from government and all that. Why would somebody not know how to own a computer as a computer science graduate? Although it's better now because people have access to much of all these devices and all that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so basically, one of the things that comes to mind when I look at the media space is the fact that there's so much disruption, or the media space is actually so broad. There are different expressions of media. And my concern basically is that when we are talking of some of these media softwares, we are talking of media platforms, we have not really seen, in terms of platforms now, I'm talking of platforms, I'm not necessarily talking about the content. We've not really seen Africans really developing platforms made by Africans for use by Africans. It's always more like we are relying on the foreigners to deploy some of this technology before we are now the marketplace for their technology. So I don't know if you have any comments on that. How can we begin to play in the big scene, and what are the challenges so far preventing that from happening?
Well, if you may ask me, I would say for now, I don't know if there's any such company out there who is trying to create a platform for Africans. Take, for instance, like Canva. That's an example of such platforms where people can just go create their contents and all of that. And the world over is really embracing it. And I don't think there's if there is, maybe I've not discovered it yet. But for me, I would think, since that kind of platform is such that it will cut across society, it will cut across countries, it will cut across nations, it's going to be available for anybody who is online. And so I wouldn't think that it would be basically for the African or for the Nigerian per se. It will be available for everybody unless the content has certain things that would benefit us. Take, for instance, now, stock photos.
Yeah.
People want to use pictures and they go online to get either to buy or to get free pictures that are available online to use to create their content. So if somebody wants to create a content, say, that has an African-based content, for instance, does this person have where to go to get pictures that are relative to what he wants to create, that probably is related to the African person? I think that is where that difference would be, because when we talk about the software, talk about the use of it, I mean, media is actually something that is internationalized and universal, so that the concept, if you are creating a video that you use in the US, is basically the same concept you're going to use here in Nigeria. But I think the content, the media content, is where I think we really need to do something. A lot of our photographers, we have a lot of photographers that are trying. We have some street photographers who go on the street and they take some unique pictures. Some of them, they equally put them out there for sale. Some of them, they sell them to, media houses out there who cannot come. They freelance and send them these pictures and they make some money. So, but the thing is, do we have such platforms that are known, where if one needs to get these local contents they can go there to either buy or to find the free content. You see, so that's the question, really. And I think we are not really doing much in that regard.
Yeah. Just to add, is it a case of lack of initiative on the one hand? Is it a case of lack of innovation, lack of a disruptive mindset amongst, creators within that space on the African continent or in Nigeria? Or is it a case of lack of funds or lack of technology? What exactly can you say is one of the major challenges, preventing, that? Because we have a lot of stories on the African continent to tell. There's so much that can be put forward. It's just like when you watch Lion King, for example.
Yeah.
A Lion King, if it was created in Africa, it would have really been awesome. But I'm not exactly sure. But I want to assume now that the creators of that particular movie would have been people who maybe are abroad. They just were able to key into an African story and create that whole beautiful scenery and all that. So I just feel that we need to see more of our own people putting that kind of information, content out there that shows that they are first Africans. They are projecting the African story through their craft, either through technology or otherwise. So I just wanted to find out, like, what is the main thing that we can actually address that can begin to solve that problem?
First and foremost, I want to thank you, Mr. Joe. Yes, I want to thank you, Mr. Joe, and the Nigerian company for what you are doing in these interviews. And why I like the interviews is because they are long-lasting. So in a long while to come, people will still find these materials, listen to them, and get direction in whatever it is they are doing. Thank you so much for what you are doing. God bless you. Now, you see, why did I have to thank you? Because our environment don't attach value to media, sadly. Our environment, this part of the world, we don't attach value to media. So somebody wants to produce a video and they come to you and they expect you to even do it for them for free or for change, chicken change. It's amazing. People don't realize how much one puts into media, the finance, the time, the effort, the training, and all of that. So we are in an environment that thrives on free stuff. That's one. So you find out that even today, some of the contemporary content that we get out there to use, whether they are soundtracks, whether they are imageries or videos, a lot of people go online to see where they can steal people's content to use for free. Even where contents are being done for free and the owners of the content say, just send a token, anything you want to give for it. They just use. They don't even appreciate, they don't acknowledge people's content. They use them for free. So you find out that I'm trying to talk about the challenge. One of the challenge is that people don't, imagine me now, if I were to spend time creating content, going on the streets on every day, taking pictures, taking video, creating that platform like you've mentioned now. And then all people do is to come there and take and take and take. Or if they can find access through the back door. In fact, someone can even just come make a purchase and go selling your content to other people. I mean, it's crazy how things like that happen. So that alone could discourage a lot of people from getting involved in that kind of creation of unless somebody's intentional that this is what I want to do for the media industry. Somebody who has a passion to do that. because that is one major challenge that really affects us down here. That's trying to get everything for free, not wanting to pay for value when we find one. Yes, sir.
It's actually sad, you know, hearing that is quite sad. It's quite sad. I'm not saying it's sad because you've shared the experience, but it's something that I've also witnessed as well. You know, I had one of my colleagues, in fact, he shot a 3 to 4 minute film, or let's say 5-minute film, and at the end of the day, he didn't get paid for it. The error he made was that he sent a kind of copy that the person could still use. And yes, at the end of the day, Oga, come and pay for the original, this thing now. And boom. That was just where the entire conversation ended. After putting in all that work, deploying of expensive gadgets and equipment, the time, the effort, the initiative, everything amounting to zero. So right now I'm thinking, what is the best way to get people to really pay for media services? And what other innovations can media practitioners put together that can convey a sense of value to people that would now make them to pay for some of these services?
For me, I would think, because I would think that a unifying system or a unifying body to go the legal route would be one of the most effective ways. I don't know, in as much as people would see it as though, it's my media business, why would you come and be putting regulations and stuff? You see, but if we go out there into other countries, you don't just do things anyhow. There are regulations, there are stipulations to ensure that several, that several things are done how they are supposed to be done, even including pricing and stuff. It could be a little bit fluctuating. It doesn't have to be, okay, this amount and all of that, but it will help certain things, you see, because take, for instance, now somebody wants to cover an event. So he comes to me and, how much are you going to charge? And I give him my fee. And then he goes to the other guy across the road, who probably may not have invested as much time, effort, money, resources as I may have. And because the person, the world is becoming a global village. So you could just go get whatever software you want to get, which in most cases we don't buy around here. Or even if we buy them, they are ridiculously cheap compared to what the value is out there. Yeah. And then this person gets the software, and then he goes on YouTube and he watches and he learns how to edit. And then he's like, wow, I can do it. He's not had the experience. He's not brushed himself through the nitty-gritties of what it takes. But just because he went through that study and he could tweak one or two things, I can do it. Then he tells that person, I'm going to charge you, let's assume that the value of what I was supposed to produce would have been like maybe 50 to 100,000 to 150,000, depending on what it is I'm producing. And then the person says, I can do it for 5,000. and the person says, really, you can? And he says, yes, I can. And the person takes him, pays him, and he does a job and delivers. Now, the person who has paid for the job and has received the job, because he didn't have the opportunity to see mine, could just see this one and say, oh, it's okay.
Yeah.
There's nothing to compare it with.
Yeah.
This person is not crazy about media. He's not crazy about excellence and all of that. He just wants video coverage. So this person does it, gets away with it for 5,000 naira. But that's not the value. But that's, okay, let me not say that's not the value. That's the value of what he could do. And so that affects the market tomorrow. This other guy, forever in his life, will see me as a cheat. that I wanted to cheat him for something that could be done for 5,000, and I was billing him 50,000 or 100,000 or one, because he never got the opportunity to see my delivery.
Yeah.
So all of these things are really affecting the media environment, pricing, and the fact that anybody, take for instance, like the Canva that I just mentioned. Somebody could have spent 5-6 years studying graphics, real graphics, that he could sit down behind a system for hours on end, designing a simple, designing something that seems simple, but he has put in hours in there. Yeah. And then somebody just goes 5-10 minutes on Canva and tweaks something. And it looks nice. And he delivers and collects 5,000. And the other guy probably would have spent time using Photoshop, CorelDRAW, certain things, tweaking with Illustrator and all of that. So
Photoshop
these
outside shop.
I'm telling you. So we need to work together. We need to appreciate the effort that goes into media production. And we need to be able, there's this thing in, I know we can be speaking to everybody from around the world. There's this thing in this part of the country, Nigeria, that we call Oju Kokoro. It means long truth. It means greed. It means greed. If we can deal with it, work together and give respect and value to this profession that we are in, it will help our space a lot, I tell you.
Yeah, because from what you've said now, I can see that there's some kind of market variation. That maybe there could be like the high-end market, the low-end market, and all that. I know for one that if one can capture some high-end clientele that want to see some level of ingenuity in a certain work, they want to see that they want to see that work has actually gone into a particular production. Those kind of clientele now, for example, they may necessarily not be looking for, maybe they may be looking for an established name or an established brand that can deliver at a certain level. Would you say that the way the market is presently, it is pushing professionals to reinvent themselves? Because if you look at a lot of things, like you've shared, the Canva is there, stock photos are there, a lot of things are there. In fact, there are videos on YouTube that would even teach you how to create an entire video using stock videos and stock photos.
Yeah.
So you necessarily don't even have to create anything by yourself. It's just your ability to transmit the content to fit the video frames that are free, that have already been created. Then you deploy them maybe within an arrangement system, and boom, you already have a YouTube video of about 15 minutes, and none of the content within that whole 15-minute video is actually created by the individual. So there's a whole lot of disruption, taking place and all that. And my question now is, since the future has come too quickly and it has come to stay, and it's even going to get worse, what are the things that media businesses can actually do in terms of repositioning themselves to be more accessible to people that would really still appreciate the traditional media kind of space? Or is there something entirely different that, companies like yours can actually be doing?
Well, I would say for anybody who is in the media industry, the most important thing is identify your niche.
Yeah.
And stay there. Deploy your entire self and make sure that what you deliver is professional enough and is excellent enough and is satisfactorily enough. You see, why am I saying this? You can't be, the fact that you've been there longer doesn't make people to have confidence in you. Doesn't make people to trust what you can deliver. Somebody can actually just get into the media space in 2, 3, 4, 5 months and is outshining someone who has been there for years. And so that's because the person has given himself to being creative, to being innovative, and to being able to utilize certain things that are up to date with what is following the trend of media today. So find your niche. For instance, like when you were introducing me, you mentioned all those things based on the things I've exposed myself to. There are things I'm actually able to do, but when I'm promoting my company out there, I just mentioned 3 things: video, photography, lighting. Yeah. Can I do animation? I can. But you see, because I have not taken myself to that point where I can say I am a household name, both in my capabilities with regards to animation. So when someone comes to me and tries to discuss animation, I tell them, no, I don't do animation. Simple. Because I don't want to mess up my brand name. I don't want to deliver a product out there that somebody would not be satisfied with. So I stay within the niche that I've carved out for myself. Why? Because the more successful clients you make by giving them good products, the more they will come back to you. Yeah. For me, I have this ideology when it has to do with the business side of what I do. And that is, one client who keeps coming back is of more value to me than 100,000 clients who never come back. You see, because if that client comes back again, for instance, there's a client I just did a job for last week, and the client's already booking me for a job for July. Now, for me, that's a better deal than someone who I did a job for, and maybe I don't even know if I satisfied the person, because some people are just naturally nice. So that even though you've not satisfied them, they don't know how to come to your face and tell you that, I don't like what you did. Some do. And we, instead of arguing, when people tell me I don't like your job, I find a way to get them satisfied. I find a way to ensure that satisfaction gets to them, rather than trying to explain it away and all of that. So why am I saying this? If you are in this industry or any other industry at all, identify your niche and be professional, be exceptional in it. Because the more that client keeps coming back, the more you will get referrals. Yes, those ads that we do out there and put up there for people to locate us, to come to us, is good. But the best is the one-on-one referrals you will get, where someone can say, that guy, if you give him your job, I'm sure this is what you will get. Again, referrals, the same way you get referrals, that's the same way you will get people telling other people that guy, don't even go there. Don't even go there. Why? Because you've messed up their job at some point, and they were in a place where you weren't opportune to know that you were even being discussed. And so somebody just messed you up, and it went from one person to another, one person to another. Even someone who has never tried you out will say, somebody said, this guy, don't even go there. Yeah. So identify your niche. We cannot do everything. Even when it has to do with video, I try to limit myself to the area of video that I know I can handle exceptionally well. I don't just tell you all video. When you come, I tell you, this I can do. This. Another thing that we don't do also within our media space around here is what we call collaboration.
In fact, I was actually wanting to come to that question, but since you've mentioned it, you can take it up, sir.
Thank you, sir. Collaboration. So many people want to do it themselves alone, so that when the chunk of the money comes, they eat it alone. That same thing I mentioned earlier, Ojukokoro, greed, is also affecting us in the area of collaboration, where you know that if you bring some other person into the business and the person can offer this amount of expertise in this area, and both of you come together, collaborate, come up with an excellent job, and then tomorrow it will be known that, this job was excellent. And whatever brought you in there, whether it's the other person who brought you in or you brought the other person in, I mean, it will just continue. And that train of excellence will continue. So it's all that me, myself, and I, let's just do everything. That's also one of the things that is really affecting us, media-wise.
It's really challenging, you know, because I want to just go back to the earlier question you were answering, where you mentioned issues around, it wasn't the collaboration one, where you were talking about when clients, sorry?
Come again, sir.
Yeah, there was an issue you were addressing that had to do with when people are working, when you do a job for somebody and people now refer you, the strength of referral. Because from my own little experience working with a media company, I came to realize that even when you throw out a lot of ads, you can spend 50,000 naira on ads, for example, depending on the product or service that you are pushing forward, and you might not necessarily get a client. But when you have worked with somebody and that person tells another person, okay, your job is really excellent, it's like referral may have more power than even social media marketing for media services from the little experience I've gathered. But I don't know if I'm wrong, and if you can also address that. Have you found from experience that referrals have given you more clientele base than even throwing content out, putting things on social media, digital marketing, social media
marketing? Yes, I would agree with you that in a sense, referrals have brought in more of the, I would say on my own end that about 70 to 80% of the jobs I have landed came through referrals. So yes, we are on the same page when it has to do with that. But here's the thing. There's a place for referrals and there's a place for advertising. If that wasn't so, Coca-Cola wouldn't have any reason to still be advertising.
Yeah.
If that wasn't so, Apple wouldn't have a need to still be advertising. But you see, there's this thing that, let me give credit to whom credit is due. I heard it from Pastor Chris Oyakhilome. And it says that repetition is the law of deep and lasting impression. It's one definition that has stuck with me. Repetition is the law of deep and lasting impression. Meaning that anytime, take for instance now, if you are walking on the road and you see a billboard, Coca-Cola, you walk on, you go on radio, you hear Coca-Cola. You open your TV, you hear Coca-Cola. Somewhere in your subconscious, it's recording that there's a company called Coca-Cola. There's a drink called Coca-Cola. And so on a day where, for instance, there are times I go on the road and I see an advert of something that either on social media, I see an advert of something I know I would need in the near future. I write it down. That's why online stores have what they call, what's it now?
Wish list.
Wish list, yes. I don't have the money to get it now, but it's something I know I would get later. You save it in your wish list. Because one day you're going to come back to it. And that day, that person who hasn't landed a sale yet will land the sale because you saw their advertising. And so that's where advertising is important. It leaves some things in your subconscious that would work for later. So whatever it is anybody's doing in advertising today, don't think you are wasting your time. If you can afford it, please go ahead and do it. But do it with wisdom so that you don't just pump everything in there and you're wondering, where are the sales? That is, it will eventually come. It's going to wait for you in the future. So it has its place. But yes, referral has the most immediate response where someone can say, this guy is good, use him. Because a lot of times when people want to do anything, the likeliness of their discussing with someone or mentioning it for someone other person to overhear what they want to do is there. And they'll say, oh, this guy, I know this guy. Some other people have a list of people they want to patronize, but they're like, who do I go to? That's why at times when people even want to patronize you, they will still ask you, can I see your Instagram handle? I want to check out certain things you've done. They are still not convinced. But if someone can say, this guy worked for me, it's good. They won't even need to ask further to even know what you've done. That referral is key for them. So yes, it's very good.
So if referral is so key and so important, can we scale the referral system? Like, I'm just thinking now, how can because my mind is thinking that, okay, if referrals can be giving someone maybe 200,000 naira in a month, for example, is there anything we can inject into that whole referral framework that can put referral on steroids?
Well, you see, that's where social media influencers are important. You see a lot of companies getting people to come and be their ambassadors.
Yeah.
Because these people, they have large followership. It doesn't matter whether these people have, what's the word now? Have moral lifestyle or whatever. The fact that they are known out there and they can just, I know certain people whom I've had the privilege of being hosted on their Instagram platform. And by the time I went back to my Instagram account, I had several followership that different from the normal pace that I would have.
Yeah.
Just because I showed up on their platform, they hosted me. So it happens. Somebody can just say, this guy, when it has to do with this or that, or this or that, go meet them. And you'll be amazed how much traffic you can. So if you have a brother or a sister or your wife who is an influencer, it could go a long way.
It's becoming live every day now.
Oh, yeah. Some people pay for it, yes. But some people, just by virtue of the fact that you know this person and they mention your product or your service, it goes a long way. So, bros, having those referrals come on steroids, like you said, is something we cannot do without. Oh, seriously, yes, it's important.
Yeah. So another thing that has actually come to mind is I've noticed that within the framework of media companies, especially startup media companies, very few of them, like I'm in partnership with one, Cashmore Media. Personally, we are pushing that one side by side and all that. And I was talking with a young man this morning, Solomon, and I said, Mr. Solomon, you need to do X, Y, and we're just having a strategic discussion. And he now said, if, for example, the person with the content idea, that's the person who is delivering on content, he has to ensure that he's focusing on that. He cannot major on content delivery, on production delivery, and at the same time major on customer service or customer acquisition, that he cannot chase all of those things at the same time. How do you respond to that, sir?
No, well, it does have a point, but you see, when someone is at startup level,
yes,
that person, I mean, you can't afford to be saying I'm having so amount or so number of staff when you can sustain them financially. So if someone is at startup level, that person will find himself in a state where he has to do almost everything. He's the editor, he's the program director, he's the executionist. I mean, it's a season, but but he has to have that mindset that there's place for professionalism in a particular thing. And just like how I quoted that statement from Pastor Chris, where he said, repetition is a law of deep and lasting impression. That repetition doesn't just mean something you hear repeatedly. It could also mean something you do repeatedly. And so if you're into marketing, the more you go out there, liaise with clients, liaise with people, and the more you are on the field, the more you are going to understand how to do and how not to do marketing. Because you're going to be encountering both successes and failures along the way. And it's going to be teaching you and making you better on your work. And then the person who sits down every day and is strictly into content, creating content and all of that, the fact that he's not distracted into other areas, he's just focused here. It has a way of sharpening his psyche and his mindset in what he's doing. So definitely, that's why, of course, when we find a lot of all these multinational companies, some of their employees, you may think they're not working. That's why if you look at, for instance, the civil service, you can just have someone who is lazy, go to office and just sit down. Because even to that person, there's nothing to do. The person has not realized that they've given him or her one thing to do and do exceptionally. And they refuse to do that one thing exceptionally. And those are the kind of people who tomorrow, if they say we want to retrench staff, their name will come on the list. Because they've not expressed value in that one thing to make themselves indispensable, so to say. They just went to the office, this is what I'm supposed to be doing. But there's nothing to do, so they just sit down. And they're not delivering. And if they have a boss who probably doesn't come occasionally to like, what did you do today? What did you do? They just feel that it's an all-comers affair. Those are the kind of people that can be sacked tomorrow, that can be retrenched. But people who know how to deploy themselves and even go the extra mile in what they've been assigned, they don't sack them. Because they have value for the company in what they are doing. So yes, I agree with you that yes, as into that brother, what he mentioned, that there's a place where we can actually take what we do seriously, not being lazy, going the extra mile to give, take for instance, editing. Someone will say, basically editing is cut and join. It's like carpentry. This I want, this I don't want. Put what you want, take out what you don't want. So if somebody feels that that's all about editing, and year in, year out, that's all the person does, without going the extra mile to add some flavor to his or her production, you miss it.
In fact,
you just
I feel if that last comment is the only comment on this video that goes out and goes viral, I think it would have served the purpose of this entire interview, because
yes,
the fact that you are a content creator and you are into editing, for example, and you are just doing the whole carpentry system of cutting, joining, pasting, and you don't add any further flair to what you are doing, you might be a good editor, but you are not an excellent editor. You know, so I think that's also food for thought for a whole lot of other businesses out there that are listening to this conversation. It doesn't just stop with delivering on what you have promised your clients, which is just at the basic level. You must go beyond the basic and put in the extra so that people can at least say that, this person, other companies don't deliver like this. Other companies, it's just like for those that travel a lot, when you are traveling, there are some airlines, I don't want to mention their name, like even when you enter, before they will even serve you, give you that little buns and drink, it's very hard.
I get you, sir. I get you, sir.
They will keep asking you, are you okay? Do you want more?
Yeah. It's bonds. You know? It's just bonds, for crying out loud.
Yeah, so it's really key. It's really key, and it's really important that people really get this. So I have about 3 more questions for you on this interview. The first one from the list of 3 is, if you were to hire 3 people on your team, so that your media company can can move beyond where it is now? Maybe you are thinking of entering into Ghana or having collaborations with creators in South Africa or in Germany. You know, if there were 3 people you wanted to hire, who would those 3 people be?
Well, for me, it will be peculiar to what I do.
Yeah.
I would need an editor with motion graphics experience. I would need a technical guy who knows how to set up stuff. And I would need a content creator who knows how to think and translate thoughts into action. For me, those are the 3 key persons I would need.
You know, the funny thing, why I actually asked this question was because many times people are expecting one individual to come with 1,000 skills. They want the same person to be the person setting up, the editor, the content guy, the motion graphics guy. They just feel that if you say you're a media person, that means you should have the entire value chain of skills within the sector, which is actually a wrong mindset.
It's a wrong mindset. It will burn the person out. Yeah, it will burn the person out. Yes.
I'm also taking some lessons from this interview as well. Then the second question I wanted to ask: what is the best way to collaborate within the media space, or what is the way you think would make sense for people to collaborate beyond just, okay, I bring this job for you, give me cuts, give me percentage? No, beyond all of that, how can media companies really begin to think of having a fusion? Like now you have a gig or I have a gig and I'm like, okay, David King Media and Lighting Hub handle this part. Like, how do we collaborate in media?
I think I would put 2 words together: creating friendship with integrity. Creating friendship with integrity. Take, for instance, now you and I, we have a relationship.
Yes,
and it's way back. and that relationship, for starters, is very key. Permit me to use a phrase from the Bible. Because I understand, of course, I don't have to be talking to Christians alone, but I'm a Christian, so I'm conversant with a particular phrase in the Bible, in Proverbs, where the Bible says that one who chooses to be a friend must shew himself friendly.
Yeah.
Some people are not friendly. And because they are not friendly, I would say friendliness opens the door to collaboration.
Yeah.
If you can't even exchange greetings with someone, you can't even exchange your complimentary card, you can't even, maybe you are even on social media and you see a post from someone who is your contemporary doing the same thing you are doing, you can't even give a shout out that, bro, I love this work you did. Yeah. That's creating a divide, for starters. And so even when you find companies coming together to collaborate for whatever reason, it's because, okay, it has something that I don't have. That's why we collaborate. It's not necessarily coming from the angle of, if 2 of us are good enough, even in a particular thing, we can bring forth an outstanding level of excellence in this production. So the fact that I'm a good editor does not mean I cannot collaborate with another good editor. Take, for instance, you are watching a Hollywood movie. At the end, you see those names, and you are seeing lists of editors that joined in producing that movie that you went to pay money to watch or pay money to buy. Back here, I mean, sorry to say, well, the Nigerian movie industry, Nollywood, for instance, is really doing a. But back then when the Nollywood movie industry began. In fact, some folks will shoot movies in 1 week and edit in 1 week and put out there. And you can see the difference between those movies and the movies produced today in Nollywood.
Yes.
I mean, think about it. The difference is clear, I tell you. How much you are willing to put and how much people you are willing to work with. Take, for instance, my friend and brother, Dr. Sammy Diagboya, FEDMAS.
Yeah.
When I see the caliber of people he's bringing into his productions today, the caliber of artists, I'm like, wow, man of God. I'm just, because it takes a lot. You're going to have those guys in hotels. You're going to lodge them. You're going to take care of their comfort and all of that. It takes a lot. But a lot of times we feel we can just get anything from anywhere. At the end of the day, you will be, that eat and alone, chop alone syndrome, it doesn't work. No, it doesn't. And so, yes, collaboration, we must appreciate what the other person represents and be willing to know that there's this saying that a tree cannot make a forest, so much so. A lot of people want to just do it themselves. And again, the Bible says somewhere, two are better than one. So we should just come to understand that collaboration is not about can you do it alone or can't you do it alone? It's about knowing that the world is changing. And where you have two, take for instance now, you want to produce something. You are seeing from an angle, a perspective. Some other person can be seen from this perspective. So if you get another person to say, oh, we want to produce this, let's work together. You are going to be seeing this, the other person is going to be seeing this. And by the time you address that matter, it's going to come out excellent, I guarantee you. So collaboration is not just about somebody bringing what you don't have into something. It could also mean somebody bringing something which you have, but brings another side, another perspective, another understanding of it. And it gives it, a very brilliant overview. Yes.
Yeah, thank you so much, sir. In fact, I think I did a short course. I created a short course on collaboration. I talked about several things in that course. I've delivered it on several platforms, actually, talking to young people in universities and all that. But the part of, as simple as it is, saying two are better than one, like that phrase for me, it sums it up totally, It's a powerful statement from the Bible that I feel is still relevant in the world of work and the world of our professionalism and all of that. And for me, that's a take home. Yeah, so the last question I want to ask is, I believe that the media has a moral burden. The media has a moral burden to shaping society.
Yeah. And
right now, social media is awesome. In fact, it's still the same platform we are using, the social media platform.
Yeah.
But when you take out the morality from media, then what exactly are you feeding people? So I don't know if this is philosophical or otherwise, but I'm just trying to say, do media companies feel this moral burden, especially at the point of when they engage their creativity to put forward content and to put forward a lot of things that the public is actually consuming? Are people still thinking of this moral responsibility, the responsibility we have to ensure that the minds of our children and generations yet unborn are actually framed aright?
I would say yes and no. Yes, in the sense that there are a lot of people who have a strong moral background. And so even when they create a company and take it out there, they carry those virtues with them.
Yeah.
Yeah, there are people like that. I know a handful of them, yes, who are both my friends and people I admire because of how they run their businesses, how they run their companies, and how they attach that moral value to it. But I would say no, in the sense that, you see, because your company represents your values. Yeah. So when someone creates a company, they're like, okay, this company needs to have a value or have values. You can't give the company values that you don't share. So I would say your company is an extension of the values of the person who creates the company or the people.
Yeah.
If it's like a partnership or a company owned by several people, the board and all of that, at the end of the day, because they would say, let's do this, this one will say, no, it doesn't go well with this. If you have more people who have weak values as opposed to the people or person who has strong values, they will overturn the person's decision.
Yeah.
Yes, because it's not a private company. So a lot of people, take for instance now, you see an advert of maybe a car company trying to sell their car, and they feel that the best way to catch attention is by using a sexy, so to speak, lady who is somewhat semi-naked, nude. Yes, to just come walk around the car. But it's a car you are selling. It has nothing to do with the woman. It has nothing to do with her expression of nudity. But just because that's what's appealing to countless people out there, so you use it, not minding what you are transmitting to our generations coming up. And so it's a lot. And because, I mean, the world is going to a point where everybody believes in free speech and free expression of this and that. So I don't know.
Yeah.
It's troubling, it's problematic, but we want to hope and believe that some of the things that we are doing today are not just for us, but for generations yet unborn.
Yes, sir.
I usually would tell people that some of the things that some of us may be fighting for today, we will not see it in our lifetime, because change takes a process of time. And so, but if we keep at it, and we have people who are also consistent in driving some of the movements that are trying to shape our world with the moral values that it needs or it requires, over time we'll get it to work. We'll just say one person at a time, one company at a time, doing what. Remember when I talked about collaboration, I mentioned two things: friendliness, or rather friendship, and integrity. Yeah. So where we begin to have a lot of companies with the ideals of integrity, being able to stand for something and to drive something, both integrity and being able to push moral values out there, I tell you, we can do it.
Yes.
And don't say that this is what is reigning, and then that will stop you from doing what you should do that is important.
Yeah.
If you believe in pushing out those moral values there, for instance, my company, we are working on a particular video. It might take a little while because that's how a production takes a while. But I have something that I'm trying to cook in the area of domestic violence.
Yeah.
Yes, it somewhat relates to what I do as a marriage and relationship coach. But then it's going to be my company that is going to be doing all the work, all the media side of it. And I'm even looking for who to partner and collaborate with, to bring that that work to life. But that is doing something aside business. It's trying to touch that moral side of our society, which is really lacking: domestic violence. I mean, so Yes, we can give our own quota. It's our own social responsibility.
I can already feel your passion. So finally,
yes,
finally, I don't know if you have any promos at the moment, any giveaways. Everybody's looking for giveaway promo and all that.
Yeah.
How can people engage with your service? Where can they find you? What do they need to do? Who do they talk to?
I'm actually planning a promo for the month of July, but it's not fully developed. So I don't want to go ahead of myself so that I don't I don't tie myself with my words. But of course, on Instagram, D King Media, D King hyphen. Maybe I'll drop it in the chat. So, and I don't know, for those watching, it's spelled DKING _ media.
Okay.
Yeah, DKING _ media, D King Media. And if you check us on Facebook, it's spelled the same way, D King Media without the underscore, as one word, D King Media and Lighting Hub Limited. That's the full name it has on Facebook. So Instagram or Facebook, basically those are the two social media platforms that we are on. As we are getting into June, we are going to be seeing a lot of those promos coming. It's going to be in the area of video editing, lighting, and all of that. So we're going to give some huge discounts, and some people are actually going to win some scholarship for free trainings. Wow. So let me not go ahead of myself.
Really awesome. we'll be happy to post. We'll be happy to post that on our platform as well, so that we can get the word out as well around the promotions that you are having that are coming. Coming on. Thank you so very much, David King. I'm extremely grateful. Juliana Imam, I can see you there. I don't know if Solomon is around as well, but I'm very grateful for the opportunity to talk with us today. And I know that I would have to go back to this video and listen to some of the things that you've actually shared. So thank you, sir. I'm very grateful. Thank you so much. We started slightly behind schedule, and I really want to appreciate you for giving us that consideration. Thank you very much, sir. God bless you. Do have a very wonderful week ahead.
You too, sir. And I appreciate your hosting me on your show. I don't take it for granted. I don't take it lightly. Thank you so much, sir. I really appreciate you, sir.
I'm very grateful.
Okay, sir.
Yes, sir.
All the best, sir.
Yeah, you too. Yeah, thanks.